Whole Truth, poem by Ramesh Balsekar, a tribute to Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj was known for delivering profound spiritual teachings without elaborate or mystical phrasing. His teaching style highlights his clarity and simplicity. He believed that truth should be accessible to all and not hidden behind complex doctrines or philosophies. His teachings emphasize direct experience rather than intellectual understanding. This poem is a powerful exposition of non-dual philosophy, guiding the seeker from ignorance to self-realization. The title of the poem is The Whole Truth. This poem is Ramesh Balsekar's poetic tribute to Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj and captures the essence of Maharaj's teachings on non-duality, that is Advaita Vedanta. In its state of perfection, of total awareness, Absolute is unaware of its awareness. Then consciousness stirs into a moan of Om, and the dream creation begins. Now the Absolute is conscious of being and exults in this beingness. Immersed in the love of I amness, Absolute expresses itself in duality. Through the union of twin aspects, male and female, through the five elements, space, air, fire, water and earth, through the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, Absolute manifests itself in duration. In dream space-time, Absolute manifests as phenomena, creating millions of forms, breathing into them the life force and the all-pervading immanent consciousness. Through these forms, in joyous self-love, functions consciousness as prajna and conceives sentient beings. Wonder of wonder happen. The sentient beings, mere images, perceive one another as objects, assume subjectivity for oneself. Each, in magnificent illusion, sees oneself as an entity separate from others. With judgment and volition independence, each forgets his unlimited potential as Absolute, accepts his limited identity as an appearance, as a mere phenomena, takes delivery of the functioning of the prajna as his own personal actions, binds himself in illusory bondage, and suffers pain and pleasure. Comes then the merciful Guru, full of grace and light divine, and shows him what it really is. Nothing more than the speck of sperm impregnated in mother's womb, in which is latent the light of sentience, I amness, the consciousness that he is. Given the names in thousands, Rama, Krishna, Jesus, God, Brahman, the same I amness it is, the light of consciousness, Mahamaya, the grand illusion. In magnificent illusion, eludes its own nature and leads itself astray, until the Guru says, halt, see yourself as you are in your true glory. On your original state of timeless absolute awareness, sans cause or reason, has appeared spontaneously body-come consciousness, like a temporary illness as a part of total functioning. This body-come consciousness works out its allotted duration and spontaneously it disappears, and consciousness, no longer conscious of itself, merges in awareness. No one is born, no one is dead. Says Nisargadatta Maharaj, in terms simple and direct. What were you before you acquired the body? Go back to the source, be still, and then will the seeker disappear and merge into the seeking. No longer aware of awareness, in wholeness, in unicity, without duality, that is, I am. With insight and intuition, with deep conviction, simple to apprehend, this and that is beyond the bounds of intellect. Only the objective and phenomenal presence or absence can the intellect grasp. But what I am, that is absolute awareness, is neither presence nor absence. I am absence of the presence of presence and absence of the presence of absence. This is what I am. This is what I am. Now let's dwell into the poem by Ramesh Balsekar, line by line, elaborating on the deep philosophical meaning behind each phrase, primarily rooted in Advaita Vedanta and inspired by the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Here we go with the first line. In its state of perfection, of total awareness, it is unaware of its awareness. It as absolute reality refers to the formless, infinite reality, often called the Absolute, the Parabrahman or pure awareness in non-dual teachings. This is not a being or entity, but the very ground of existence. It is timeless, spaceless, and beyond any distinctions. In its original state, this awareness is all-encompassing and beyond duality. There is no distinction between a subject, that is one who is aware, and an object, that is what is being perceived. The phrase unaware of its awareness suggests that in its pure state, the Absolute does not engage in self-reflection or differentiation. It simply is. In this original state, there is no self-consciousness or self-reflection. The Absolute does not need to know itself, it simply is. There is no subject, the knower, and object, that is what is known. This is the state of pure non-duality, a wholeness with no division. Then the consciousness stirs into a moan of Om and the dream creation begins. The stirring of consciousness represents the first movement within the stillness of the Absolute. Consciousness begins to vibrate like a ripple in still water, and this vibration is symbolized by the primordial sound Om. The primordial sound Om represents the vibration from which the universe originates. This stirring of consciousness is the first movement within the stillness of awareness, symbolizing the transition from formlessness to form. In many spiritual traditions, this sound is considered the seed of creation. The universe is described as a dream because it is impermanent and illusory. Like a dream, it appears real but has no ultimate substance when examined deeply. The term dream creation underscores that the manifested world is not the ultimate reality. It is a transient and illusory projection of the consciousness. It is conscious of being. It exults in this beingness. Once consciousness arises, the Absolute becomes aware of I amness, a sense of I am or I exist. This is the first experience of individuality, even though it remains universal at this stage. The joy or exultation mentioned here reflects the bliss inherent in pure existence or beingness untainted by duality or identification. There is a spontaneous joy in this recognition, a bliss in the pure state of existence, untainted by thought, form, or division. Immersed in the love of I amness, it expresses itself in duality. The Absolute delights in its existence and begins to express itself as the apparent other. Love of I amness is the Absolute's delights in its own being. This self-recognition leads to an outpouring of creativity. This makes the emergence of duality, where unity splits into subject and object, observer and observed, light and dark, self and other. The oneness of the Absolute appears to split into opposites. This division is not real, but is part of the play of the creation, that is Leela. Through the union of twin aspects, male and female, through the five elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, duality manifests as creative interplay of complementary forces, often symbolized as male, that is active or called Shiva, and female, that is passive or called Shakti, which are energies in Indian philosophy. The five elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, are the fundamental constituents of the material universe according to ancient Indian cosmology. Creation unfolds through the five fundamental elements, which is called Panchamahabhutas, which form the material world. They represent the building blocks of the physical existence. Through the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, it manifests itself in duration. Gunas. The nature operates through three fundamental qualities. Sattva means purity, balance, lightness. Rajas, which means activity, passion, movement. Tamas, which means inertia, heaviness, darkness. Duration, that is time, itself emerges from the interplay of these gunas, enabling the apparent continuity of universe. Together they create the dynamic flow of time or duration and regulate all phenomena. In dream space-time, it manifests as phenomena, creating millions of forms, breathing into them the life force and the all-pervading immanent consciousness. In dream space-time, space and time are constructs within the dream of creation, giving a framework for the unfolding of forms. Creating millions of forms, consciousness shapes itself into countless entities, living and non-living, from galaxies to microbes. All-pervading consciousness. Every form is animated by prana, that is life force, and chaitanya, that is consciousness, both of which are expressions of the Absolute, which pervades everything. Through these forms, in joyous self-love, functions consciousness as prajna. The joyous self-love reflects the self-recognition of consciousness through its diverse manifestations. the Absolute recognizes itself in every form, delighting in its infinite expressions. Consciousness operates within these forms as prajna, a Sanskrit term for the intuitive, universal intelligence that guides the unfolding and functioning of life and the universe. The sentient beings, mere images, thus conceived, wonder of wonder happens, perceive one another as objects. Individual beings are projections of the one consciousness, like reflections in a mirror. They are images within the cosmic dream. They are not truly separate, but appear so. In the play of duality, beings see each other as distinct and separate entities, as objects, due to Maya, that is illusion. Assuming subjectivity for oneself, each in magnificent illusion sees oneself as an entity separate, with judgment and volition independence. Which means each being identifies with the ego, that is a sense of I as separate self, and believes in having a free will, independent of the universal intelligence, a totally independent existence. This is the magnificent illusion, the Maya of individuality that hides the underlying unity. Each forgets his unlimited potential as nominal absolute, accepts his limited identity as an appearance, a mere phenomena. In identifying with the ego and body, the individual forgets their true nature as the infinite formless absolute. Instead, they accept the false identity of being a temporary and limited entity. This mistaken identity confines beings to the illusion of separateness. Takes delivery of the functioning of prajna as his own personal actions, binds himself in illusory bondage and suffers pain and pleasure. Which means the individual beings falsely attributes the universal functioning of prajna, that is the intuitive universal intelligence, to themselves, claiming ownership of actions. The beings assume that their actions and experiences are personal rather than recognizing them as the workings of the universal consciousness. This mistaken identity leads to attachment, creating the illusion of bondage and a cycle of pleasure and pain. Comes then the merciful Guru, full of grace and light divine, and shows him what it really is. Which means a Guru appears as an instrument of grace, guiding the individual out of ignorance, offering clarity and liberation from illusion, revealing their true nature as the Absolute. That which he thinks he is, nothing more than the speck of sperm impregnated in mother's womb. Which means, humbling the ego, this stark imagery reminds the seeker of the insignificance of the body, to look beyond the body, encouraging a shift of focus to the eternal consciousness within, to their spiritual essence, in which is latent the light of sentience, I amness, the consciousness that he is. Which means latent light. Even within the smallest form, the latent light of consciousness, the universal I am, shines. Given the names in thousands, Rama, Krishna, Ishvara, God, Brahman, the same I amness it is. All deities and divine forms are names and symbols point to the same fundamental consciousness, emphasizing the unity underlying all spiritual traditions. In magnificent illusion, eludes its own nature and leads itself astray. Consciousness, through the play of Maya, veils its own true nature and becomes entangled in dream and its creations, forgetting its essence. Until the Guru says, "Halt, see yourself as you are in your true glory." Here, the Guru helps the seeker pause and reflect, uncovering their original limitless nature beyond illusion. On your original state of timelessness, absolute nominality has appeared like a temporary illness, the body come consciousness, which means the body and ego consciousness are described as temporary illness superimposed on the eternal absolute like clouds covering the sky. Spontaneously, sense cause or reason as a part of prajnic functioning. The manifestation of universe is spontaneous and without any specific cause or reason as a natural expression of prajna, that is intuitive universal intelligence. It is simply the natural functioning of the absolute. It works out its allotted duration until just as spontaneously it appeared, it disappears, and consciousness, no longer conscious of itself, merges in awareness. No one is born, no one is dead. Which means forms, that is body and mind, dissolves naturally after their time and individual consciousness returns to the pure awareness. In this state, concepts like birth and death lose all meanings. Says Nisargadatta Maharaj in terms simple and direct, what were you before you acquired the body? This pivotal question is a tool for self-enquiry. It invites you to reflect on your identity beyond the physical body and mind, which are temporary and acquired after birth. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, before you were born, before you identified with your body, name or personality, what were you? This question shifts attention to your essence, which exists prior to body and mind. Maharaj hints that this essence or pure awareness is eternal and unchanging. Go back to the source, be still, and then will the seeker disappear and into the seeking merge. Go back to the source means turning inward to discover your true nature, the origin of existence. It is not something external but the fundamental reality within you. Be still signifies the cessation of mental activity, thoughts and identification with external world. In stillness, the mind becomes quiet and one can directly experience their true self. This is a call to meditation and introspection, where silence and stillness allow one to reconnect with the infinite source of being. The seeker refers to the individual on a quest for truth or enlightenment. Initially, there is a sense of separation between the one seeking and the goal, that is truth. Maharaj explains that when you truly merge into the act of seeking, that is, dissolve all egoic ideas and distinctions, the duality disappears. In this state, there is no separate seeker. The act of seeking itself dissolves, leaving only pure awareness. No longer aware of awareness, in wholeness, in unicity, Without duality, I am. This describes the ultimate realization of non-duality, that is Advaita. No longer aware of awareness means once you fully merge with awareness, there is no sense of being aware as a separate act. It becomes your natural state. Wholeness in unicity means this is a state of absolute unity and completeness where there is no sense of self versus other. Without duality, I am means I am refers to the pure non-dual existence that is beyond any division or concepts of this and that. It is the unchanging reality. With insight and intuition, with deep conviction, simple to apprehend. This means enlightenment comes through the insight, that is direct perception, and intuition, that is inner knowing, not through logic or intellect. Once this truth is realized, it is held with deep conviction, a certainty that does not require proof or validation. Despite its profundity, this truth is simple to apprehend because it is your true natural state, requiring unlearning rather than learning. This and that is beyond the bounds of intellect. Only the objective and phenomenal presence or absence can the intellect grasp. This and that refers to the absolute reality, the oneness that underlies all existence. The intellect operates in dualistic terms, categorizing, comparing, and analyzing. However, the absolute cannot be understood or defined intellectually. It is beyond mental constructs and can only be experienced directly. The intellect is limited to dealing with the phenomenal world, that is, things that can be perceived or experienced. The intellect can comprehend presence, that is, existence, and absence, non-existence, in context of objects, events, or phenomena. However, the intellect cannot comprehend the ultimate reality because it exists beyond the realm of phenomena and dualities. But what you are is neither presence nor absence. Maharaj asserts that the true self, which is what I am, transcends dualistic notions like existence, that is presence, and non-existence, that is absence. The absolute awareness is not an object that can be categorized as here or not here. It is the substratum upon which both presence and absence appear. Absence of the presence of presence. This phrase is a paradox meant to dismantle the intellect's tendency to conceptualize. It suggests a state where even the concept of presence, that is being, is transcended. The self is not bound by the idea of existing as something perceivable. The absence of the presence of absence is what you are. Similarly, the self is not defined by absence either. This line negates both extremes of duality, presence and absence, to point to the self as unchanging non-dual reality that cannot be captured by such concepts. It implies that the true self is beyond all dualistic frameworks and is better understood through direct experience rather than mental constructs. The poem is a profound exploration of non-duality, guiding the reader to move beyond the mind's tendency to define and categorize reality. Maharaj's teaching emphasizes self-inquiry, stillness, and the realization that the ultimate truth is beyond dualistic concepts like presence and absence. It is about dissolving the ego and merging into the infinite formless awareness that is absolute or Parabrahma.